What have you done to your toys in the floor? It's a mess. Yeah, it is. It's a mess. Hey guys, so I just thought I would check back in and let you guys know a little bit more in this vlog about why we decided to change IVF clinics. And there goes Chloe with her toy. Chloe, come here. Okay. All right, go lie down. Lie down. So I'm gonna end up having this baby play with. So a big part of the decision for those of you guys who have potentially been following us for a while is we did 5 rounds of IVF in 14 months. And that kind of averaged out to about every, 3 months. But in reality, it was like I would have a 4-month break and then do 2 rounds back to back with only not even 1 cycle in between, sort of thing. So it was a lot. It was a lot to go through physically, emotionally. It was really hard. And I'm not sure how much I shared before, but I ended up having a couple of panic attacks. And that wasn't really, well, 1, it meant something big and deeper was going on. But 2, I think it just meant my body was trying to tell me like, hey, like, slow down, take a break. So I've also started going to my own therapy in preparation for 1, being a clinician myself down the track. 2, because I am, going on with infertility and knowing that we had some panic attack and other issues and then just grief in general. I don't think I really gave myself a lot of time to process that, and I really try not to focus on the negative. That's not my personality, is to kind of dwell on that stuff. And I thought I would give myself enough time to grieve by giving myself the weekend or a week. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I just think with the back-to-back rounds over such a small period of time, my body wasn't really having a chance to recover maybe as well as it needed to. And then as a result of that, the last 2 rounds, I probably had medium levels of OHSS, which is ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. And so did it surprise me that those pregnancies did not end up in long-term pregnancies and healthy children? No, it didn't surprise me. So that's probably reason number 1 of why we decided to change clinics. Number 2, if we are doing this a 6th time, again, I just felt like something major had to change. So I was in conversation with one of the mums at the daycare I used to work at, and she is an embryologist and she works for the clinic that we're going to. So 1, I know she's very knowledgeable, and 2, I have heard from 3 separate sources that the doctor that we're going to see has had very good success rates, and especially for people coming from other clinics, secondary clinics, where they weren't successful. So a 3rd reason, I guess, was really just, I think after doing so many rounds, we needed a slightly more private clinic. The process in how it was done, we wouldn't have been able to do it without bulk billing. So let me just put that out there. Here in Australia, in Perth, we had this amazing opportunity because we met certain criteria to have our IVF rounds bulk billed. And what that meant is that the majority of the bills And even some of the meds, but not all of them, and some of the tests, but not all of them, were able to be put through the Medicare system before we even saw a bill. So we still had a private deductible for the hospital stuff, for the egg retrievals, but instead of costing $10,000 to $15,000 a round of IVF, it ended up costing us between $1,000 and $2,000 per round. So, because I know for me, watching other people, I was always like, how can you afford to do so many rounds of IVF? And I'm not saying that the pursuit of a child isn't worth the finances. I think that really depends on you as a couple and as a person. And it's not that I don't think I maybe would have spent that, but for us, it just wasn't a reality. We could not have come up with $60,000 to $80,000 for IVF in a 14-month period. Just wouldn't have happened. So one, I'm so incredibly grateful that we had that opportunity. But I think the process, because of that, because there are so many patients at that clinic, is that, like, you know, I was supposed to have a day 3 or 4 embryo transfer and it ended up being a day 2. My body had not had time to recover from the egg retrieval process, and then on day 4 and 5 I'm getting temperatures and my body's starting to shut down. I'm getting sick. There was no real allowance for things like I wanted to have the conversation about embryonic glue, especially because I have a heart-shaped uterus and I've had endometriosis. Maybe having something like embryonic glue would help. It doesn't help embryos that wouldn't have made it anyway. But what it may have done is provided a greater opportunity for the embryo to try and attach to the lining to equal in a healthy pregnancy. And there's like different thoughts around that. But again, considering we've done 5 rounds, it was a conversation I wanted to have. And I just really felt like a conveyor belt. So even though my doctor did not make me feel like that, having a FIFO or a fly-in, fly-out husband, I wasn't allowed to go to appointments without Chad being there, and it was like a real big ordeal to get approval. And I'm not just talking about first consultation, like this is like 5th, 6th consultation sort of stuff, which I understand why they do that, but at the same time, like they've got all of our permissions, they've got, yeah, anyway. So, that wasn't really helpful for us. And then you add on top of that the fact that I couldn't always get my doctor to do the surgery or transfer or whatever. Like I didn't have choices depending on the day in my cycle that it fell. They wouldn't let me see the ultrasounds for how many follicles I was, or they wouldn't tell me how many follicles I had. There were certain like protocols and procedures I didn't really appreciate or agree with. So that was another reason we decided to move. And the reality is that we want a more personal approach. And I can't fault the doctor. I really loved my doctor, Sonny. He was great. But he's one person in the whole place, and it got to the point where I don't think the personal needs of us were really considered in the preparation for our round. And especially with the complications, I really don't think a lot of the complications were dealt with and not long term. So we are going in for a first consultation for Chad and I at our new clinic. And that is on the 23rd, so that's like 2 weeks after my knee surgery. Sure, I should be fine getting around on crutches and stuff, and potentially with my walking stick at that point. And so for the first time in a long time, and like I said, it's been like 9 months, but in reality, that's just since I've checked in, and I was really having doubts, not only about the process, but about God's promise for us. And that was really quite the first time I've really experienced questioning my faith. And so it's not that that's not part of our journey, it is. And I think in a lot of these major life circumstances, it's completely normal to question. But trying to do that at the same time while vlogging and trying to remain hopeful and upbeat for you guys just wasn't a balance that I felt that I could do. So I've had time to really seek God and really try and work out where these feelings are coming from. Why am I questioning? And what does it mean for me, and what does it mean going forward? So I've felt like I've had time to grapple with that now, and I feel in a much better place spiritually to go forward for this next round. And also, I guess, just feeling clear about the direction I'm wanting to go in our round. Like if we're pursuing another round of IVF, I really want to make sure it's the best thing for us. And I say us genuinely, like, yes, me physically for some of that. But for us as a married couple wanting to be on the same page, I think both of us were getting to the point of questioning not the doctor, but the process and how we were just kind of pushed along the conveyor belt, and not really being as considered as we thought our case maybe needed to be after so many rounds of not working and no real change in protocol. So yeah, that's our decision. That's why we've decided to move. So I will hopefully bring you guys along to the appointment. I will have to ask and see how much of that can be filmed. Every clinic is different with that. If I can't bring you in, I will make sure I check in with you guys afterwards. Yeah. And so we will have to do the whole gamut of testing all over again for sure. And plus, since we've both lost so much weight, I've started tracking my ovulation again. So I started ovulating. I didn't ovulate that I could tell last month. Hopeful for this next month. But my cycle was regular and started getting closer and closer together. So this one was 28 days on the money, and I was like, okay. And so that actually changed the day of looking at my ovulation window by 4 days. So I may have just missed my ovulation window to check last month. I don't know. So hopefully with some testing, they'll be able to tell me my testosterone levels and how that's going. I'm really trying to work out, can I come off of metformin? Do I have to stay on it now that I've had this weight loss? Because, with PCOS, that's really to manage the weight loss and ovulation stuff. So if my body can do that without the drugs, why would I want to be on them? That was never the long-term plan to stay on metformin. Chad's come off of some medications, and so he's looking good. So in the meantime, as we are working up, getting ready for our next round of IVF and checking in with the new clinic, we have been continuing to take our supplements and trying for better fertility health and all that kind of good stuff, trying to take care of ourselves. Well, with Chad has been working so much, so for him it's flying out and working, and for me it's been study. So trying to make sure we get some alone time in there as well, which has been a challenge, but we are doing good. And so we're really glad that we made the decision to move, and all of that stuff will be coming up. Good to talk to you. I love you guys. I'm praying for you. I am one of you. If you have any questions about anything I have talked about, or if there's anything you want me to talk about, I'd love to share that with you. Check it in the comments or message me on Facebook or Instagram. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.